Yeah. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff. Thank you to the large members of the public who are here. Thank you all for coming in. Just letting those know who are in the doorway, we do have the streaming next door. Feel free to have their seats in there as well, and there's plenty of room. So if you don't want to be squished in the doorway there, feel free to come and utilise that service. I would also like to acknowledge the Wadandi Noongar people, the traditional owners of the land that we are meeting on today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. A couple of announcements from me. Last couple of weeks ago, the City of Bunbury was privileged to win the PLAW winner for Park of the Year at Coolanbiddy Woola. We won that category. We won the Play Space Award, which was also, that was for Coolanbiddy Woola as well. We won lots of things. We didn't actually win this, but Place, who designed the park, they won the Award of Excellence for that park in the Parks and Open Space category. And we also, Place also won a Regional Achievement Award. So I think that is a true credit to that facility, to that youth precinct, obviously for councils, current councils and councils of the past, to our staff members who made that happen, and of course the very large push from the community who made that happen as well, which we're seeing here in the room as well. So thank you for all those people who made that happen, and I know some of those awards are now going into the national category, which will be awarded later in the year, and very excited to see how we go in that. Thank you. We do have an apology from Councillor Gassett. The rest of us are here. There are a number of declarations of interest that have been received, councillors. They're on the screen in front of us. Is there any there that we have missed? Just of note, there are 2 financial interests for item 10.1.2 from Councillor Andrew and Councillor Yip. They will be leaving the room for that item. All the other items are impartial interests. Are there any other? Thank you. Public question time. We have received a couple of notice for questions here from the public, hoping they're there somewhere. We'll invite you up to ask these questions. Given these were received quite late this afternoon, we may or may not have answers. I'll be referring to the officers to respond to those. If we can't respond at the time, we'll provide in writing, and that'll in the minutes for next week. But we'll start with Dr. Mary Collins. Is Mary there somewhere or next door? Yes, I am. Thank you, Mary. Would you like to come up and ask? If you don't want to, I can ask it from here if you're comfortable. If not, you can come to the podium and ask your question. Thank you.
Do I just stand here?
Just in front of the into the microphone, because I'm sure there's some listening online as well who would love to hear your questions. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, thank you for allowing us to come and pose a few questions. My questions really are in relation to the Tree Street agenda that you councillors have this evening. I'm going to be looking at. So my first question is, why were the property owners in the Tree Street area not proactively and individually informed that this matter was coming to council for discussion? Do you want me just to go through the 3 questions?
Probably, I think we have copies in front of us of them. So if you're happy to read your questions, then we'll answer them from them if we can. If not, we'll take on notice. So if you ask all your questions now, that'd be great. Thank you, Mary.
Question 2. What are the adequate compensation proposals for this change? And question 3, on what grounds was a similar proposal rejected previously, I understand to be some years ago?
Thank you, Dr. Collins. I'll just ask you to grab a seat. I'll just ask if the CEO has responses for those questions.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll defer to Mr Barber, the Director of Sustainable Communities, please.
Through you, Mr Mayor, in relation to the first question on notice, that's what this agenda item is for tonight. It's for council to determine whether this matter should proceed to consultation. If it is, then notice will be provided to the residents. The second question on compensation, probably need to take that one on notice. It depends on the proposal. And in terms of the reasons why the previous proposal was rejected, I'd have to do some research on that. I think it was 2004 that last time came to council.
Sure, we'll take those 2 on notice and they'll be in the minutes. We also had questions from Helen Hastie. Is Helen here? Helen, thank you, Helen.
Well, my original one was probably exactly sort of on the lines of Mary as to why we hadn't been informed previously. My second question was, are the councillors aware of the very expensive and time-consuming implications this will have for the property owners when they are needing to comply with the strict planning and heritage guidelines in the future if the policy is accepted?
Sure. CEO, do you have an answer for that?
Mr Barber, are you able to address that as well, please?
Through Mr Mayor, I think the question was asking if councillors were aware. So as part of the agenda, there is an FAQ which outlines some of the implications for property owners, and that will be provided to every individual property in there as part of that consultation process, plus the other elements of the consultation process. So we'll be providing some of those answers to residents as part of the process.
Thank you, Mr Barber. And lastly, some questions from Mr Andrew Cook. Is Andrew here? Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, I appreciate your time. I have three questions to ask. The first is, why is there no plan to include public meetings in the proposed community consultation process to allow the community to raise and share concerns over the proposed Tree Street heritage area? My second, what certainty or guarantees are there that the draft local planning policies for the proposed Tree Street heritage area will not be stricter or more onerous for property owners? My third question, why is special planning control needed for the Tree Streets area, as the council already has planning policies and regulations in place by which to review and approve changes? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Cook. CEO?
In through Mr Mayor to Mr Barber, if you can address those, please.
Through Mr Mayor, relation to the first question, the public meetings. So the consultation plan outlines the proposed consultation. Part of that is the opportunity for officers to meet one-on-one with any residents who want to discuss the matter. And the reason for that is every individual property owner will be impacted in a different way, depending on whether they've got a heritage listed property, a property that isn't of heritage value. So it's better to have one-on-one meeting and actually outline what it means to them, rather than a generalised meeting in a public forum. The second question on guarantees that the policy won't be stricter or more onerous. Again, that's probably up to each individual property owner to understand what the implications are for their property, which is part of the consultation process and also part of the FAQs that we will be putting out. Question 3 on the need for it. The area has been identified as having heritage value. So there's a proposal to implement those controls. This process is to put that to the community and get the community's feedback on whether they see value in having those controls in place.
Thank you, Mr Barber. Thank you for those questions. Councillors, we move to confirmation of the previous minutes. Somebody happy to move those? Councillor Kozisek, Councillor Giles, all those in favour, please indicate. That's carried, thank you. We have a number of minutes there from advisory committees. Somebody happy to move those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Kozisek, Councillor McCleary, all those in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you very much. We do have 2 deputations tonight on items 10.2.1 and 10.5.2. All those approve those deputations, please indicate. That's carried, and as we're aware, once we get to those items, we'll call you up. So, councillors, we have a couple of items coming out of the agenda. With the allowance of council, I intend, given the large majority of members here, I believe, are for 2 items, I intend that we'll deal with the Ocean Pool item first, followed by the Tree Street 10.1.2. So that's how I intend to deal with tonight. But also coming out for discussion is item 10.1.1, which requires an absolute majority. 10.1.2, 10.3.2 requires an absolute majority. 10.3.3, which requires an absolute majority. 10.4.2 requires an absolute majority. And 10.5.2, which requires a simple majority by the deputation there. Was there any other items, Councillor Quain?
Can I please bring out 10.4.1?
Absolutely, thank you. Councillor Turner?
1051.
1051, yes. Any other items for discussion, councillors? If that's the case, could we have the remainder removed en bloc? Thank you, councillor Yip. Second to councillor Kozak. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. As indicated, I think we'll deal with item 10.5.2, as that may allow anyone who is outside to enter the room later on if anyone wants to leave. So I'll ask Mr Todd Brown. We'll ask you to address council in your deputation dealing with item 10.5.2 as the Bunbury Ocean Pool project. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mayor, councillors, for listening to this deputation, and thank you for all the support that's come into the room. In August 2021, I gave one of my last speeches as a councillor when we endorsed the resolution to move this project to the next stage. We passed that on that night, and here we are today. The goal was a fully accessible, sustainable saltwater pool that is free to the public and an Instagrammable icon embracing multiple technologies and innovations. To bring together the community in a safe and welcoming environment and re-engage our society with a secure ocean experience for all ages and abilities. And after nearly 2 years of studies, it has come to moving this project forward to public consultation. When the plans were released last week, I was amazed at the beauty and simplicity of the redefined pool design, and it is an outstanding achievement by a team of architects who specialise in Australian ocean pools. And thanks to all your councillor input during workshops and briefings, you have delivered on that goal. After last week's presentation and some explanations that were given as to costs, I began to think about funding sources in the bigger picture. In costing a development, you can use two options. The first, a dynamic analysis where you use best guesses into the future with a discounted cash flow analysis, as we find in the business case. The alternative is a static analysis which bases value on now. Both have their place. Tonight, I'm using the alternate static analysis in which we can break down the project into its three parts. Firstly, last week, I asked the question as to whether the Cricket and Runners Club were consulted in the formation of this precinct. The answer was no. They are currently looking to build a multi-purpose facility, and there is approximately $2 million allocated in the pool costs for a community meeting room, cafe kiosk, and their contingencies. Let's take those facilities out of our costings, as they should be included in the multi-user facility the clubs want to build. Secondly, the site works in the quarry are an entry to the pool and expose the beautiful basalt walls of the quarry. This is to cost $5.48 million. In 1905, the quarry was commenced with the ultimate purpose of creating the best ocean pool in the world. That was 118 years ago, in the time of Sir John Forrest and C.Y. O'Connor. Due to this wonderful history telling the story of the ocean pool and its history of early mining in Western Australia, we are offered an amazing opportunity to use this history to have conversations with private and philanthropic groups who may wholly or partly fund this uniquely iconic project for West Australia. I immediately think of Andrew Forrest and his Minderoo Foundation, where he has not just a connection to mining, but a family connection to Sir John Forrest. There are so many more options. The costs of maintaining this part of the park already costs the council $54,000 per year. With the changes, this increases to $75,000 per year, only an extra $21,000 per year. Thirdly, that leaves the construction of the ocean pool to be $4.85 million as identified in the business case. I think local private investment can fund that. The operating costs of this, as informed by MP Rogers, is $285,000 per year. In this figure, he includes, and I quote, pumping costs, general supplies, general cleaning, removal of marine growth, and maintenance of the pool and the pump structure. Most ocean pools in Australia were built over 100 years ago with a history of very little maintenance. As a fact, the last ocean pool was built in Australia over 60 years ago. If we are to allow a sinking fund for the replacement of the ocean pool, we should allow it over 50 years. And if we amortise that $4.8 million over 50 years, this would come to around $100,000 per year, making a total operating cost inclusive of a sinking fund to totally replace the asset at a total of $385,000 per year. To put this in perspective, I think we spend $250,000 per year on events in the CBD. And then there is the question, how much are the naming rights for the pool worth? Maybe $2 million over 10 years? Maybe the sponsorship could cover the operating costs. I think that this could be a fully funded and the operating cost reduced to zero with naming rights and sponsorships. You only have to look to the Bondi icebergs to see how iconic their brand is. Every night I see this on the ABC News just before the weather, or some fashion or influencer advertising. Ocean pools are no doubt one of the most Instagrammable objects in the world. This project needs to go to public consultation so that more critical eyes can look over the project, its costs and practicalities, as well as its flaws and imperfections. There may be obvious costs or solutions that can be uncovered. As I said last week, we may or may not be experts, but we do know Bunbury. So why are ocean pools so special? Firstly, they are used and accessible to the whole community, young and old. They provide a safe and accessible option for swimming, especially for those who may not be confident or comfortable in the open sea. Older and less mobile members of our community can be knocked off their feet by a small wave, diminishing confidence in their experience with the sea. They protect us from rips, currents, waves, sharks, and other hazards that may be present in the ocean. Secondly, they offer a unique swimming experience that is different from conventional pools or beaches. They allow us to enjoy the benefits of salt water, which is more buoyant and has healing properties for some skin conditions. Our ocean pool will use minimal chemicals for cleaning, which makes it more natural and environmentally friendly. Unlike a pool, river or lake, the ocean has higher amounts of minerals, and this mineral-rich water can help treat autoimmune skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema, and even simple cuts and abrasions. Thirdly, ocean pools enhance our physical and mental health. Swimming is a great form of exercise that can improve our cardiovascular fitness, muscle strength, flexibility and balance. Swimming in cold water can also boost our immune system, reduce inflammation and release hormones that make us feel good. Researchers from Cambridge University discovered in 2020 that cold water swimming may protect the brain from degenerative diseases like dementia. Ocean pools can benefit our community in many ways. Not only do they improve our health and well-being, they also contribute to our economy and tourism. According to the work of the Water Research Laboratory at the University of New South Wales, Dr. Dave Anning and the Royal Life Saving Society's 2017 economic modelling of aquatic facilities showed that there was an economic benefit of $13.83 per pool visit, plus an economic benefit of $26.39 to the community. Therefore, a total benefit for each pool visit of $40.22 to the community. Therefore, the average pool of 150,000 visits per year, such as Freshwater or Queenscliff in Sydney, provides an economic and health benefit to the community of about $6 million per year. That is, a typical new ocean pool would have paid itself off in 2 years. On the tourism side, in Port Macquarie, a feasibility study for an ocean pool at Oxley Beach estimated that the pool would attract an additional 36,000 visitors per year and generate $4.5 million in annual tourism expenditure. Ocean pools can also increase the value and attractiveness of our coastal areas. It would be fantastic to see our vacant lots on Ocean Drive activated. This has the ability to transform that land and present a windfall for the community. Ocean pools are not just swimming facilities, they are also cultural and social spaces where people of all ages and backgrounds can meet, relax and have fun. They are also places where we can connect with nature and appreciate the stunning views of the coastline and our beautiful sunsets. In Australia, where they are located, ocean pools are a much-loved community asset that bring people together, where we can share the inspiration and beauty of the stunning place in which we live. It is truly a way for our community to reconnect with the sea. Now it should be over to the public to
Mr.
have their
Brown,
say.
that is your 10 minutes. I'll just allow you to summarise.
Now it should be over to the public to have their say. Hopefully you allow this to happen by supporting the executive recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I took you 30 seconds that you didn't use last week and added it to this week. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Kozisek, a seconder, Councillor McCleary. Councillor Kozisek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the crowd in the gallery. It's really nice to see an audience. We don't often have it. Thank you. Firstly, I would like to commend the architects, Officer Woods, for the concept drawings. Their interpretation of the brief and use of a natural basalt coastline is outstanding. Also, the staff that have followed through with this project to get it to this stage. I realise now that I had a very fortunate childhood growing up on a farm in Manjimup. As with all farms, ours had a dam and many other dams. Now, my father was not a good swimmer and was worried about us swimming in cold, murky dam water with a slimy clay bottom. So his solution to that was to build a very large swimming pool in our backyard. I was 4 years old at that time and the pool was 60 foot by 40 foot. It was fabulous. It doesn't sound as big in metres, I might add, but as a 4-year-old, it was a big pool. So I have been addicted to swimming ever since, and often I will swim 3 or 4 times a day. I think it's the best exercise for everybody, mentally and physically. Now, not everybody has that opportunity, even though we are almost surrounded by ocean, and Western Australia is renowned for its fabulous beaches. Bunbury does not always put on an ideal swimming conditions. Back Beach can be extremely rough. I think we've all been knocked over at Back Beach, with outcrops of basalt rock. And as for Kambana Bay, well, the local fishermen won't swim there. Too many sharks, they say. The first ocean pool in Australia was built in 1820 in New South Wales by convicts as a bathing place for soldiers. It is still in use today and has had a couple of makeovers, but I think something that was built that long ago and is still surviving, I think is fabulous. That sounds good for our pool. Our East Coast has, I believe, 143 saltwater ocean pools, mostly because of the treacherous nature of their coastline as compared to WA. But this concept takes the pool to a new location. Not where the original pool was, built in the 1930s, not the best spot. As we know, it got pummeled one winter and that was the end of that pool. This concept has the pool hunkered down lower and sitting among the basalt rocks almost at sea level. This means no fencing is required and no lifeguards are needed, just as though you're at the beach, a true saltwater pool. We have an opportunity to build a pool for everyone, free to use, saltwater, no chemicals, no massive waves. And I have to confess, growing up in a landlocked town really does limit your ability to cope with big waves. I'm not good with big waves. It's a safe place for children and the elderly alike, a community facility that can be used all year round. I know we have some ocean swimmers in the gallery this evening, and I can tell you that they are very excited about our ocean pool. It will be a suitable place for those with a disability to swim safely, and I can envisage swimming lessons there in summer, children learning how to dive, our ocean swimmers on rough days hopping in the pool, athletes doing training there, our older community members being able to swim without fear of being knocked over by waves, and tourists who are aware of the hazards of swimming with sharks. Swimming is one of the few sports that does not require club fees and insurance, nor does it need special boots or equipment, just your bathers and maybe some goggles. So a free pool is going to appeal to young families and low-income people. It really is an inclusive sport, and I believe every child has the right to learn to swim. I would like us to help put Bunbury on the map, a reason to turn off the outer ring road and head into our beautiful city. Let's build the first true ocean pool in WA and the first in Australia in over 60 years. What an amazing attractor to our city, close to the CBD, linking our shopping strip with our coastline, and at last putting something unique on our shoreline. This may well be the catalyst for so much more along our coast. Perhaps we could offer at times a closed pool to those cultures that women may only swim with other women. I believe our original beach pool did this on a regular basis. Now's the time to move this project to the next level, which is to undertake community and stakeholder engagement. This is such an important step in the process, and we need to bring the community with us. The ocean pool has always been a popular idea. Now we need to know what the community want from a saltwater pool. Free to use, how big do we want to see this pool, what amenities do they envisage being required, and how would they like to see the precinct developed. This is the community's chance to have their say, to look at the concept drawings and make suggestions. Another item that needs to be thought about is the funding from private, state and federal sources.
Councillor Kozak, somebody happy to move that we extend time for Councillor Kozak? Thank you, Councillor Joe. Seconder, just stand. Thanks, Councillor Quain. Thank you. Those in favour to extend time, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Kozak.
Thank you. I didn't time it, I apologise. I'd like to talk about funding, and we talk about in local government the thirds rule of funding, so a third from federal government, 1/3 from state government, and that leaves 1/3 for Bunbury. Doesn't necessarily have to mean that Bunbury local government has to come up with the 1/3. Mr Todd Brown talked about private funding in several different scopes, and I hope the community will get behind this amazing project and take some of the financial burden off our ratepayers. I suggest they could lobby our politicians, both state and federal, and maybe start a GoFundMe page. A precedent has been set for this model of private funding when a committee was formed for the Bunbury Regional, Entertainment Centre, raising substantial funds to build our BREC, thus indicating to government that the community was very supportive of the project. One last thing we need to think about is, subject to funding, commence the development of the concept plan. Now, all of the ideas from our public and the suggestions will have been put into process, considered, and where possible used to enhance the ocean pool precinct. So I urge all councillors to vote to progress this amazing concept to the next stage. Let the community to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kozak. Thank you, Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is truly a unique project that was brought through, and I'll tell you right now, when it first kicked off, I wasn't in favour of it. I still have concerns. I definitely support the recommendation that's on the table. For myself, the reason why I'm probably a bit cautious, I come from New Guinea, and I didn't really learn to swim in the ocean because we had sharks and crocodiles that we had to swim with, and we used to have a spotter when we went swimming. We used to drive a car into the river or to the ocean, and we'd have a spotter sitting on top of the car, and he would watch for crocodiles and sharks while the children swam. So that was my experience of swimming. And when I came here, I found that the Atlantic was very dull and grey as opposed to the Pacific. So I am not an ocean dweller, so to speak. However, I feel that having a pool here, and my grandmother swam in the old pool and fished on the rocks where the pool may or may not go. So I do have some history here. I just want to bring us back. We're very excited about it, and yes, it's absolutely magnificent that the actual draft drawings of the pool, what it could look like. But I'm a very practical person, and I want to bring people back, a step back a little bit. And I'm not really concerned about whether we'll find the money to build it, because I believe we will. Because the excitement will do that. It'll bring people on board. That's not about the renewal. That doesn't really concern me so much, because we will plan for that in our long-term financial plan. It is the maintenance each year, the cost each year to the ratepayer, as it has been pointed out that yes, we'll have lots of visitors. Now I'm going to say a little joke here, that means lots of toilet rolls, okay? Because when people come here, they don't pay rates, they will shop, and hopefully the money will churn over locally. It may not, okay? And so the money will go out, a bit like the tide. So we need to ascertain how we balance that, so our ratepayers, whom will be left with the maintenance bill, won't be crippled with an extra $5 each a year, etc., to pay for a pool which they may or may not use locally. We do have a wonderful swimming pool. I know I sound, Mr. Mayor, I know that I sound negative or not, I'm just being very practical. So when it says here that, just reminding everybody, that it's the request of the CEO officer identifying funding sources to enable the commencement of further development of the concept plan, okay? So we're not going out and building it tomorrow. We're not okaying this now for it to happen. We are exploring more, and I want to thank our executives for up-to-date information that they've been giving us to be able to come this far. When we first started, I used to say it was a pool by the ocean, because that was kind of what it was going to be. We were going to be stuck right up near the Runners Club almost with the pool, and all that has changed now. So that has changed my view totally, and it's going to be smaller, which I would rather it bigger, but anyway, it's going to be smaller. And I'm in favour of it, but I'm also asking to err on the caution side that we are going to be able to afford it. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Is there a speaker against? Sure. Clarify it's Indian Ocean, not Atlantic. No speaker against. Councillor Kozisek, anything further to add?
I would just like to end on a high note, that the reason that it is going to public consultation is so that all of the community can have a say in how this pool is built, the size. We can look at the maintenance costs, we can determine whether these can be brought down, we can determine better ways to pay for the maintenance costs. So please don't look at that as a negative. This is really concept stage, going out to our community to have massive input into something that I think would just benefit everybody massively. So I urge everybody to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please indicate. Those against, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the members of the public, we do have a number of agenda items to go. I'll give a couple of minutes for anyone who may want to go or wishes to go. You're more than welcome to stay. Don't all get up at once. We'll just give a couple of minutes to clear the room for that. If you are planning to stay around and have a conversation, please do that outside. You can get a seat now, Mr. Redinger, if you would like. Are you comfortable down there? For anyone who's next door, if you can see me or hear me, feel free to come and join us. I might just ask, we might just, yeah. We're not able to shut the doors by any chance, are we, Mr. Galinsky, or through the CEO? No. Okay, their chat will continue. Okay, we'll keep moving, councillors. So as indicated, we are going to just move to item 10.1.2, which is the proposed Tree Street area. There are two financial interests in this, so Councillor Yip and Councillor Andrew. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And we do have a deputation from Mr. Gary Fitzgerald. So, Gary, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors. I represent S&S Nursing in regards to 88 Beach Road, and I'm speaking against the executive recommendation tonight. I'd also note that my comments tonight are formulated in discussions with my client's lawyers, and a letter has been provided to the city in regards to our position formally in this matter as well. So as I said, our clients have written formally to the city advising of our concerns, or my client's concerns, in regards to the progression of this item or this proposal. So council, our client's not opposed to an appropriately considered LPP, but we are extremely concerned that, about the process and its timing in regards to the current SAT matter relating to our property at 88 Beach Road. We're also concerned, and you've heard it tonight, that this policy is being rushed forward and could, if not will, have significant negative impact on landowners in the area generally. This was noted before in 2004 that this came up, and I think it can't be understated that this is something that needs to be carefully considered. I have many scars from my previous involvement with a Tree Street area proposal, similar. Restrictions on how an individual can develop their land, how they should be carefully considered. Individuals have invested significantly in their properties, and restrictions on how they can develop their land, in our opinion, requires very careful consideration. Our client, in good faith, has entered into a mediation and is committed to resolving the matter in regards to, in a conciliatory matter, through mediation in regards to the development that was refused for 88 Beach Road. Our client has taken on board councillors' comments, community's comments, executive staff's comments, and made changes to the design to reflect the comment by all of these groups. And I have to say, at a significant cost, as I'm sure you can imagine, in developing different scenarios and different models to present. Our client has, our council, we believe that the advertising of the proposed Tree Street area is inappropriate at this stage, as it would be inconsistent with the SAT mediation process and will significantly prejudice the decision-making process currently underway. So we're not asking for it to be dropped, we're not asking for it to be not considered, but we are saying we would ask for a small deferral of time for this matter to be fully developed, for the SAT mediation matter to be resolved, and that's really what we're suggesting tonight. We feel, as I said, that there's a very real possibility that not only will this prejudice our client, but it will have a significant impact on other landowners as well. So accordingly, council, our client is requesting that the city determines to defer the agenda item until after the mediation process on 88 Beach Road has concluded and any reconsideration of the city of the mediation outcome has been concluded. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Councillor, we have a recommendation. Somebody prepared to move that recommendation? Councillor Turner?
I've got a question, please, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll just get on the table. Thanks, Councillor Turner first. Sure. We've got a mover, yes? And a second to Councillor Smith. Now, Councillor Turner will take that question. Thank you.
Can we just get some advice on if we were to defer, is there any implications or in regards to what we've just heard?
Yep. So, yeah, is that question around does this potential recommendation have that impact as suggested, CEO?
Refer to Mr Barber if he's able to address that, please.
Through Mr Mayor, our legal representative in that case has responded to Mr Fitzgerald's legal counsel last night and has outlined the reasons why he doesn't believe it should be deferred. Doesn't believe that this is in response to the SAT case. It was already in train well before that process started, and that it's normal for planning procedures to continue regardless of SAT cases.
Thank you.
Yes. I just have a follow-up to that. So that advice we've received is that this process, in terms of going out of advertising, wouldn't have an impact on that particular case. Is that correct through the CEO?
Through Mr Mayor, the advice has been that there's no need to defer this item.
Thank you. Councillor Steele. Sorry, yes. Councillor McCleary, yes.
And I wish to declare that I've been sitting with the SAT and listening to what the SAT.
Sure. So just be
Say
careful about
on
any
this
discussions
particular one.
around that
Yep.
as well, Councillor McCleary. Thank you.
But I heard tonight quite a few of the residents are concerned that they don't feel they wanted to have that opportunity to be notified and talk through this process before the process actually went.
Can I just have a point of order? That's precisely what the recommendation.
Yeah. So I just
Exactly
Councillor.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just
Councillor,
asking,
sorry,
what would
Councillor
be the
McCleary.
effect?
Councillor McCleary, if somebody raises a point of order, just take a seat. Thank you. Now, Councillor McCleary, I'll ask you a question. You can carry on, just ask your question now. That's fine. Thanks, Councillor Smith, but I think we're getting to the question now.
What would be the effect of actually deferring it for another 2 rounds? The council.
The impact will be deferring it. Will be deferring it for 2 rounds. So there's no impact. It just defers the motion.
Would that give us an opportunity to talk to the people who are concerned of this coming forward?
I think what was raised in that point of order was that this item raised there is suggesting that this is part of that consultation. We're part of it. Obviously, you have an opportunity if you would like to move that we can't actually defer because there's been a mover and a seconder. You can adjourn this motion if you would like to move a procedural motion. You have that option.
I would like to adjourn this motion.
Okay, I'll just get the governance on that because we've had this discussion around deferrals and adjournment. So I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just get some governance from the CEO. I'm pretty sure it is to be, this item will be adjourned. Manager of Governance looks like he's very keen to get involved in this, CEO.
Clarify, is there a seconder for that?
We're just getting some governance around the process, Councillor Steele, of what the adjournment needs, and I'll just ask the governance for that. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I know the CEO's got a copy of the standing orders in front of him. I do not, but I don't think the mover or seconder, neither of those have spoken yet, so I think we're still okay to use the deferral provisions as opposed to the adjournment of debate provisions. The CEO very shortly will be able to confirm that with the document that's in front of him. The impact, Mr Mayor, is exactly the same. Yep. It's just using the correct provisions of the standing orders.
Thank you. Confirmed. So you can defer the item then, Councillor McCleary. So you'd like to defer the item. Is there a seconder to that deferral? I'm glad we got that advice anyway. That lapsed. Councillor, we will move back to the recommendation. I knew what you were trying to do, Councillor Steele. Councillor Steele as the mover. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no issue with this going out to our community so they can actually put their why they do or do not actually support this, and it gives. I just like to point out too that usually we have 21 days for this. It's going out to 42 days, so that it gives people opportunities to address our council and our staff members and have any questions that they have addressed at that time. Also, I'd like to also just clarify what Mr Fitzgerald said. This has been in process since 2021, so it hasn't actually been rushed, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to reading what our community actually wants in that area, and just not the people living in the Tree Street, but also this affects the whole of Bunbury. So I would also encourage, all of Bunbury to have a say of what happens in this area.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Second was Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree with councillor Steele's comments, and we did extend this out from the normal 21 days to 42 days. The intent of this motion is to get out to our community for consultation, and it does also include the whole of Bunbury, because this is a whole of Bunbury issue. What makes Bunbury unique is its location and its built environment, and that's really valuable, and we should be protecting it. A lot of you in this chamber have got sick of me hearing about heritage issues and sick of me saying that I urge people to go down and look at the corner of the Rose Hotel, the Cronshaws building, the Hands building and the Apex building on the corner. That's been described by people who know about this stuff as one of the most important architectural corners in the whole of the state, if not as important in Australia. In fact, the Cronshaws building is on the National Register. So I believe the Tree Street area is an area that is unique. It makes the Stirling Street heritage area, the Tree Street heritage area defines what this city is. Do we really want to be different, and do we want to build a whole lot of modernist houses, which I quite like, by the way, devoid of trees, or do we want to preserve what we've got? Because I think it's really important. I have to say it's really terrific to see so many people interested in the future of our city, but I urge councillors to vote for this recommendation because it is only a proposal to go out to public consultation. It's not doing anything else. Thank you.
Yes, Smith. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Steele, anything further to add?
Just very quickly, that I urge that all the ratepayers and the people that live in that area, that if they do have any concerns, please take up Mr Barber's one-on-one meeting, so then they can go and find out how exactly it will affect their house, and they can get it rather than any hearsay that's going around.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Andrew and Councillor, yep, get them back. Similar option for those who are wanting to stay, feel free. If you need to leave now, feel free though as well. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thanks, councillors. We're moving our way back up the agenda. So we're at item 10.1.1 now. As was mentioned, requires an absolute majority, councillors. So do I have somebody move that? Councillor Giles, Councillor Kozisek, is there likely to be any debate on this one, councillors? Just reminding you on 10.1.1. Thank you. I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. 10.3.2. Again, councillors, this requires an absolute majority. Somebody happy to move? Councillor Kozisek, thank you. Seconder, Councillor McCleary, thank you. Likely to be any debate? Thank you. I'll put that. Those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 10.3.3. Absolute majority. Councillor Andrew, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Giles, thank you. Likely to be any debate, councillors? I'll put that. Those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. 10.4.1, the South West Sports Centre court expansion. Councillor Quine, you happy to move that? Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Smith is looking that way. Councillor Quine, I'm guessing you would like to speak to this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move motion 10.4.1. Firstly, I'd like to thank the staff and the stakeholders for their time and consideration undertaken to reach this point. Also, thank you to our local state member, Honourable Don Punch MLA, for securing the $8 million election funds that will ensure the future of indoor sports and the City of Bunbury maintaining its primacy. Stated in the background of this motion, recommendation 2 will be reported back to Council by the 5th of September 2023. Until then, let's look forward to the staff briefing us on the progress of this project. Fellow councillors, please vote and support this motion and send a clear message to the community that the City of Bunbury can deliver projects, especially within the terms of the state government election commitment of $8 million. Thank you, and I do urge you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, anything from yourself?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't have much to add other than to say I support Councillor Quain on this. I support projects like this because it improves and enhances the lifestyle of our residents and ratepayers. So I urge councillors to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Anything further to add, Councillor Quain?
Thank you very much for your support, everybody, and I look forward to this project progressing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, item 10.4.2, which has come up after the initial briefing. So before I ask the mover, I will just, if there's any questions on this, happy to take those. If not, I'll call for a mover. Councillor Yip, Councillor Yip. Councillor Nakiri to seconder. Councillor Yip.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. BREC is a much-loved community asset. It is our unofficial town hall, a place for weddings, wakes, stakeholder engagement sessions, civic ceremonies, not to mention conventions, conferences, training, job fairs, and of course, BREC is the Southwest's premier home of live performance and entertainment. I can recall from Fiona de Garris's presentation to us that BREC does so much more than we realise. Apart from those I've just mentioned, BREC brings new and challenging works to Bunbury, not just the Elvis impersonators, and it commits to First Nations programming and supporting Indigenous talent. It provides an artistic retreat for budding creatives to be mentored, and it is committed to increasing the number of children who can access live theatre. In 2023, they expect to welcome 2,500 students to see a show at BREC, and there is no venue in regional WA achieving anywhere near these figures. Research shows that children engaged in live performance have a more optimistic outlook on life, and in a world of declining mental health, I believe this will be BREC's legacy. In 2020, BREC partnered with Kerry Park Primary School and committed to enabling every child at the school to see a show. This Friday, 550 high school kids will descend on BREC to see a show about climate change, and next month 600 kids will see a Noongar story by the WA Opera Company. Approving these funds and the licence agreement will allow BREC to continue its good work in the community. BREC doesn't accept its annual funding and sit on its laurels, but through innovation and good management continues to retain world-class staff, improve numbers and engagement across the Bunbury Geograph region, manage over 100 volunteers, all on the smell of an oily rag. In a region where sport has always been well supported, it is our council's responsibility to support the arts and ensure BREC is able to continue contributing and improving the social outcomes of our children, our First Nations people and the entire community. Thank you.
Yes, yep. Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to say that it's excellent value. BREC is excellent value and worthy of Council's continued support. And BREC has evolved over the years, and it really is getting the community right in there. So it's very inclusive of all the communities. So I would recommend that we support BREC. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against or question? Councillor Steele?
Yeah, I have questions because
Sure.
it wasn't on our agenda
Yeah,
last
absolutely,
week.
Councillor
So I
Steele.
do have some questions because I do have a concern about how much money we actually do give to BREC every year, and I have for quite some time, and I haven't
Question,
inquired about
Councillor
that.
Steele.
So my question is, though, what actual other funding does BREC get besides our $500,000 a year? What, you know, we are encouraging, I suppose, other groups to go out and get funding. So what other funding does BREC actually go out and get?
CEO, do you have a response to that?
In general, Mr Mayor, thank you. I can acknowledge that BREC does receive some funding from some of our other neighbouring local governments. And I think they achieve some funding through Lottery West for the performing arts component, but the majority of their direct funding is actually through ticket sales. So their total revenue is made up of the City of Bunbury's operational support, operational support from the local governments surrounding Bunbury, and some from the state government through Lottery West, and the balance through ticket sales revenue. I think, please, up to my understanding, and perhaps Councillor may be able to explain a bit more detail, with their total revenue, I think, is now sitting over $1.5 million, but I don't have that figure exactly at hand now. I can provide that into the future for you.
Yep, we'll get that provided as well, Councillor Steele. Speaker against? Councillor Yip. Yeah, sure. So there has been a request to take separately. I'm more than happy to accommodate that. Councillor Yip.
Thank you. I know it's not ideal for us to keep continually funding something like BREC at this value. But, you know, there is a way forward, as we've seen with some of the reports that have been coming back about performing arts venues in WA and Albany's Performing Arts Centre. So I believe there is a way forward with Lot 3 coming online if that hotel goes ahead. So I think there's hope for the future for BREC to become a little bit more self-sustaining, and that we won't have to give too much more in the future. So until that time comes, I think we should continue supporting BREC and giving them the benefit of the doubt. They will continue their good work and look for innovative ways to have other revenue streams as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yip. So there's been a request to take these separately, so we'll deal with them one by one. So those in favour of item 1, please indicate. Those against? 1 against. Item 2, those in favour of that, please indicate. Those against? 1 against. Item 3, those in favour of that, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Item 4, those in favour of that, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. 10.5.1, Councillor Turner, were you looking to move this? Were you looking to... Moving, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Giles, sure. I'm guessing you wanted to speak to this, Councillor Turner. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the staff responsible for the City of Bunbury Parks and Playground Action Plan. It's clear that a lot of hard work and dedication went into creating such a comprehensive and thoughtful plan for our community. Staff have considered statistics and community feedback for each suburb. It's clear that some parks and playgrounds are more popular than others, which allows for a hierarchy to be worked out for future decisions when renewing playgrounds. However, it's important to remember that every park and playground in the City of Bunbury is valuable and serves a unique purpose for our community. Whether it's a small neighbourhood park or a large citywide destination, each one provides a place for families to gather, children to play, and individuals to enjoy the outdoors. Thank you to the staff responsible for ensuring that our parks and playgrounds are maintained to a high standard. I'm looking forward to seeing the positive impact that this plan will have on our community for years to come. I'll be supporting the executive recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, I can ask a question.
Mr. Mayor, I had 4 people ring, and 2 actually asked if this question could be asked because they'll be listening. And it was just that they thought the playground was old school terminology. The playground was the park, and where it's written that they're going to be reduced, I clarified it for them, but I said that you would explain it, that it's the parks and playground, 2 different things. It's not the playground, it's not the park being removed, it's just the playground equipment.
So I'm just trying to chase that question in there, Councillor. The difference between playground and park? I think...
To define the
Sure,
playground for some of the elderly people, they thought that was the park that we were removing.
Sure, thanks, Councillor.
Not
I
the
think the
equipment.
Director is, looks like he's got an answer for us there, so CEO.
Yeah, through Mr Harris, who has significant experience in playgrounds and parks.
Thank you, through Mr Mayor. When we talk about removal, we talk about the removal of playground equipment. None of the parks themselves change. The parks all stay where they are. None of that is removed. It's just purely the playground equipment that may be located in that particular park.
Sorry, Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I thoroughly endorse what Councillor Turner's just said about the good work done by our officers. It's fantastic. I must admit I was blown away with the presentation and the walkability to nearly everybody in Bunbury to a park of some kind. I didn't realise that until you see it on a map. It's very hard to take that in. So I congratulate them and I hope everybody would vote for this recommendation. Thank you. And I would, just encourage all the ratepayers to have a look at that map as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. Speaker against? Councillor Turner, anything further? Thank you. I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. Those against? One against. That's carried. Thank you. Councillors, we go to item, well, no we don't, not yet. I'll deal with this important matter first. There's a leave of absence request from myself there. Is somebody happy to move that? Councillor Andrews, second to Councillor Giles. Those in favour, please indicate. Any against? Thank you. That's carried.
I have a question about leave of absence, and I'm really sorry, but I've just realised we don't have a meeting, do we, for August, because I want leave.
Are you looking to ask leave? Sure.
The 8th of August.
Yep. Is that okay if we can include that now? Yeah, I'll just get that checked. We'll deal with that one now if that's okay. That's okay. So the 4th to the 8th of August? I think we do actually have another meeting prior to that. We do, but that's okay. We'll put it in now. We've got it here now. It's okay. I'm happy to move that. Somebody happen to second? Councillor Giles? All those in favour of that? Those against? Oh, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So, councillors, we come to item 14. We do have a late item that's been brought by the CEO to facilitate the change.
Mayor, before we get to 14, are we dealing with 13.2 questions from members?
I haven't received any yet, councillors, but Councillor Smith, but if you have a question, I'm happy to entertain that. Sure.
Mr. Mayor. It's fairly simple.
Yep.
Can I ask, when will the artworks and photographs be returned to this chamber? Thank you.
Sure. I don't... CEO? We may have to take that one on notice, Councillor Smith. There may not be an answer yet.
If it's okay, Mr Mayor, we'll take that on notice. We'll provide that information to all elected members out of session.
Thank you. Okay. So back to 14 now. So there is an item coming for council to deal with in relation to the CEO standard panel. Is somebody happy to move that we accept this item? Councillor Kozisek, second Councillor Giles. All those in favour, please indicate. Great. So we can accept that item. So we're dealing with now with item... Oh, sorry, Councillor McCleary. One against. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor McCleary. So we're dealing with 14.1 now to deal with that change there. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Steck, a seconder. Councillor Giles. So likely to be any debate on this, councillors? I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. Those against? 2 against. That's carried. Thank you very much. I believe, councillors, that brings us to a close. Thank you for those who are attending, those who stayed around for the end, all the important stuff. Appreciate it. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, staff.